in an open relationship, how did you and Donna, your wife, navigate jealousy?
How did we deal with that? Well, there's a way to look at our human experience as deeper than what it looks like at the surface of it. So jealousy has, anger mixed in with envy and all kinds of different things. And there's a way, if you just stay in the experience of it, it can be very, very painful and very contracting and very desire to control and things like that. But if you accept the experience of jealousy without having to change it or do anything about it, just be fascinated, wow, this is a powerful thing, and be in relationship to the experience rather than just be swept away by the experience, then there's a very different thing that goes on with it. And there can be a fascination with it. And, rather than trying to avoid it, I'd like to put myself in situations where jealousy can show up so I can be in a different relationship to it rather than be a victim of it. And so that's basically how we handled it, was to just be certainly sensitive to one another. And the person who had the kind of more contraction, if you want to call it that, the other person would allow that person to control it in a certain way. And so you're not sweeping them too far off of their feet, or not making it too steep a road to go down for that person. Otherwise, it's just too overwhelming. So, like maybe the first time going out on a date, the first time I go out and I'm home by midnight, and then that's different than if I stay out all night, or vice versa. Donna does the same thing. And then we can feel our commitment to one another is first. And that's how it's always been with us. That's been the first commitment. And then how do we work this out so that the person wanting to be with other people could have that experience, but not be too threatening to that person. And ultimately, I have to know that if Donna leaves me for someone else, that I can handle the grief, that grief would take me some incredible place in myself. It would open myself to feel things, probably feel an even deeper love for her in a certain way. And so that I'm not having to control my life to avoid the experience of losing her. Because I've watched couples, come in and very sincerely say, if someone's a threat to us emotionally or sexually, I won't go down that road. I'll stay with you. And then when the experience actually happens, they do leave the person. And they were sincere when they spoke it, and then something else starts to happen. So the only guarantee I have is that I'll be with Peter for the rest of my life. I have that guarantee. And he's a pretty good guy to hang out with. So.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you, Peter. Like I feel goosebumps as you're talking. And then it's just like, oh my God, it's like it's amazing. The statements you're making, they're so deep. And in some reason, like there is laughter, right? Because like it's not common for people to think like this, that, oh yeah, like me is the person I will be always with. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Whenever you speak of, like, if you were to lose your partner because of they're falling in love with the the new person, and you would feel the grief, and it's like a beautiful thing.
Right.
I have found it to not be so beautiful. Like it's it's deep, it's heart opening, but it's hard to want to go through that or to keep going through that.
Right.
So
To me, that's about a relationship with emotions and what it is to be in a human body. And I spent years meditating, trying to bypass the human experience and repressing all my emotions and having spiritual satori experiences. But there was this corner of humanness in me that was repressed and sitting down there waiting to explode somehow. So when I came out of the celibacy phase, it was like, I'm going for it. I'm going to experience everything a human being can experience. And when I'm actually I've had some very deep grief experiences. And in those experiences, as I'm experiencing them, when I don't have any judgment about them, and when I'm just in the purity of the experience, it's a beautiful experience. just racking with grief and pain and loss. It's a beautiful, heart-opening, deepening experience that I couldn't get there any other way than through that. So there has to be a relationship to feeling emotions, that rather than what the mind says about the experience, because the mind wants to tell you it's a bad experience, because when you go into those experiences, it loses control. It doesn't have you anymore. So it tells you, you don't want to go there, you want to go there. But if you actually really pay attention as you're racked with the grief, it's for me anyway, it's an incredibly beautiful, heart-opening experience. I mean, I am gonna, if Donna dies first, I am gonna lose her. She will go first, and I will be left here to grieve.
Right.
And I have this secret thing. I hope she dies first, so I get to grieve. I don't know what happens on the other side. So I want that experience to just feel it all the way. And it'll humble me. It'll take me places that'll be incredible. Why wouldn't I want that?
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
We have another question. Did you always feel that Peter was a good guy to hang out with? And if not, how did you get there?
That's a perfect question at some level. So one of my first teachers way in Berkeley many, many years ago was a Gurdjieff teacher. Gurdjieff was a Russian mystic. And when he interviewed people to see if they could become disciples, kind of be followers of him. And when he interviewed me, at the end of the interview, he looked me in the deep in my soul and said, "You're a really good man." And I had never thought one way or the other about that. I just started weeping. I got busted in a certain way. My goodness was seen in a certain way. And what that exchange had me walk away from there feeling like I was a good person. And it was, and I hadn't even recognized, I hadn't thought I was a good person until, that energy came in underneath it all and just kind of lifted it all. So that was my vehicle, I guess, to come to a conclusion. I mean, I can see I'm trying, and sure, I flunk tests, and I'm a jerk at times, and I'm, neurotic at times, and all of that stuff. But that doesn't change the good intentions in here, and the attempts in here, and the apologies after I fucked up, and whatever else it is to be a human being in a body,
Oh, I love that. So many times I find myself thinking like that's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like, what if I take it like different angle? So thank you. That's very beautiful.